What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video has been highly requested and something I've been wanting to do to show you guys what parts I used for my B18C swap into my Civic. I guess some quick details. When you're doing this swap, it's easiest to have the same generation of emissions tier on your engine that's going into your car as your current car. So for instance, my Civic was built in 1997, so it was OBDIIa. And when I went to find my donor swap, my B18C, I made sure it was also OBDIIa. There are ways to incorporate OBD1 or OBD2B into your Civic, but it also adds some complexity in terms of parts or just some things that you have to omit to make it work. But for me personally, I tried to keep it the same because it made it the easiest for me. So if you guys are putting an OBD1 car or OBD1 engine into an OBD2 car or vice versa, it's going to be a little bit different, and I won't be able to explain that in this video in particular, but if you do want to see that video, let me know in the comments below and I can find those details for you to share. So real quick, for me, when I bought my Integra donor, it had all my parts already in it, but if you guys, the first big thing you need is the B18C swap or B16 swap, whatever engine you're putting in. You just need to make sure you have whatever B series engine you want. Make sure it's a full swap, so that includes ECU, wiring harness that's uncut, you need your axles, you need to make sure it has a header, all sensors are there. Just make sure it's all complete and it has everything you need, because you do need the B series axles for that specific engine. So for me, that was the P72 ECU, which was OBD2A, into my OBD2A Civic. The next thing you guys need to make sure you have on any B series swap into a Civic, specifically an EK Civic, is you need to buy the Civic Si EM1 T-bracket, and I'll show a picture of it right here. It is a T-bracket, and this is what mounts to your transmission in the back of the engine against the firewall for the mount. You can't reuse the Civic one, or you can't reuse the Integra one. You need the B16A Civic Si T-bracket, which they run about 60-70 bucks, I think. They're not very expensive, and it's OEM Honda, so it's really cool for that reason. Next thing you need to do in terms of mounts is you need to go to the junkyard or go online and buy the 2-post mount from a B20 CRV. So the reason why I chose this direction and on all of my parts is I wanted to use all OEM Honda parts if I could. So for me, the B20 2-post mount, which is on the driver's side, it uses the stock D16 mount that sits on top of it, so I didn't have to buy any additional mounts for my car. I was just able to swap it off the B18C to the B20 mount, and it bolted directly in. Same goes if you want to keep AC in your car. You need to go to the junkyard and get the AC bracket off the B20 CRV, and the reason why is the Integra AC compressor does not fit onto in the Civic. Anyways, I wanted to try to keep everything the same, so I took the B20 bracket, bolted onto the B18C. It allowed my Civic compressor, which was already on the car, to bolt right up without having to open the AC system and have to get it recharged. And that allowed me to use the lower tranny mount and the lower driver's side mount as well, which is pretty cool. The next mount that you need, you guys should already have if you're pulling out the D16 from your Civic, is the tranny mount. If you look on the transmission, there's a bracket that bolts to the transmission, and then you have the pancake mount that goes up to, or the round mount that goes to the firewall. You can't reuse the B18C one. You need to take the one off your Civic engine to put it back into your Civic. So make that swap of parts. I showed it in a previous video kind of when I was doing it real quickly, but you need to reuse that mount as well. The next thing you need is the D16 harness from your car. If you're lucky enough to have a D16EX engine in your car, you already have VTEC, you already have the crank position sensor that you need. You don't have to really do much. It's actually pretty plug and play. For me, I have a DX, which means no VTEC, so I had to reuse my D16 harness, but then also go on eBay to Honda Parts Guy or Honda Guy. I can't remember. Anyways, I'll share a link in the description box, and then also right here on the screen, that will tell you where I got it from on eBay, which includes the VTEC sender switch, the pressure switch, the fluctuation switch. It has the dual intake manifold switch for the butterfly valves on the B18C. I didn't use it because I don't have it, but it has all the other additional sensors you need to add and incorporate into your harness. So what I did is I just kind of spliced it in and then ran it all back into the D16 harness. So you'll need that as well if you are going to add VTEC. The next thing you need is a GSR shift linkage. I don't know if you can use an LS 5-speed shift linkage. I think you can. I don't see why it would be any different, but you do need a shift linkage from a B series engine. So the next thing you will need is the clutch line on your D16 engine that goes across the top of the transmission, and then there's a bracket in the back on the D16 engine. I'll show a picture right here of how it looks on the B18 once you swap it. But what it essentially allows you to do is reuse that hard line from the slave cylinder on your transmission, run it back to the back of your transmission, and just use all of your Civic hard lines, so you don't have to swap any clutch master cylinder lines, which is really, really nice. It's all Honda parts. So the next thing you guys will need is, one, you need a fuel filter, which just standard maintenance fuel filter, spark plug wires, distributor cap and rotor, valve cover gasket set, timing belts, kit, thermostat, which I will talk about in a later video that I definitely should have replaced. You can do all those maintenance parts if you need to. Some people just swap it in, which is what I did because I knew the engine was healthy, because I was able to drive the Integra prior to pulling the motor. But you will need the upper and lower radiator hoses from a B18C, so make sure it's Integra hoses. You will need those. They all do mount up to your Civic radiator, which I didn't actually swap my radiator. I just used my standard stock Civic D16 radiator, and I have no cooling problems whatsoever. The only other thing that you might need is an air filter, just typical maintenance parts from there. Zip ties, P-clips for strapping down wires, extra vacuum lines, so just if you need to replace vacuum lines, replace those. Fuel line return maybe, but to be honest, you should have all those parts in your Civic already, and then just run down to the auto parts store if you need to get some extra hoses or whatnot. But that is all I needed for it. I will leave all of the list in the description box below for everyone to see, with part numbers from Honda as well, to make it real simple for you guys. But this isn't the end-all to be-all article on how to do a Civic swap and what parts you need. It might be different for you. Remember, this was a 97 Civic with a 96 Integra B18C engine, so they were both OBDIIa. And I have to say, this is a disclaimer, I can't say that these are the correct parts for your cars. So if you guys do buy the parts and they don't fit, I'm sorry, it's not my fault. I'm just telling you what worked for me. So keep that in mind and do your research on Honda Tech or any of those websites. They have a lot of articles on there of different parts you need. So thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Check out my other videos, which I will leave an iCard up here that tells you of a previous video in the playlist of all of the steps and all the different videos of creating this B18C swap, which has been awesome so far. I haven't had any issues. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Not too bad. Sweet.